Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to this UT Admissions Q&A. My name is Kinda and I'm a member of the Teen Advisory Group at the Pflugerville Public Library. And I'm joined here today by even more TAG members. Hi everyone. And then also a special guest. We're so happy to have Yocelyn from UT Admissions. And so right now I just want everyone to just quickly introduce themselves before we go into the TAG panel. Starting with Yocelyn. Take it away.
Hi, Kinda. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for inviting me, for having me. My name is Yocelyn, and I work at the UT Office of Admissions here in Austin. And I'm just really happy to be here. I work with high schools within the Austin area, and I'm here to help and facilitate everything having to do with admissions, applications, and anything like that.
My name's Karsen LaRue. I am a former member and a current Pflugerville librarian assist technician. I've been at UT for a year and a half now, and I'm a double major in psychology and English with the hopes to eventually become a librarian.
I'm Eleanor Walter. I'm a former TAG member. I'm a second year at UT, and I am majoring in theater education and government.
Hi, I'm Joanne. I'm an incoming freshman at UT, and I'm majoring in neuroscience.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. And now we'll start with the TAG panel. So we'll have each TAG member just talk about their journey in applying and getting admitted into college, and then kind of the specifics and into how you got into UT, as well as since you all are students or are current or former students of UT, then you can even mention, your experience and what you liked about it. So Karsen, would you like to start?
Sure. A very untraditional path as far as getting accepted into UT goes. I was homeschooled my entire life, went to ACC for the first couple of years of my college career just to get the basics out of the way, and wanted to transfer over to UT. That was always the goal. I applied the first time, didn't end up getting in, unfortunately. But I applied the second time and got in. So there's always a chance of getting in. And if you apply more, it's important not to give up and don't get discouraged about anything. I absolutely loved how everything was online. The application process was so easy, which I was a huge fan of. And I loved how I was able to just submit everything and not ask for anyone's help. And it was just very nice. But it was also nice that UT had people who would help me out of hand, who could connect me and tell me exactly what I needed, how I could improve, things like that.
Karsen, and then would Eleanor or Joanne care to go next?
I have a kind of similar story to Karsen. I was homeschooled from like seventh grade all through high school. And while I was in high school, I was enrolled at ACC doing the early college program. So I got most of my gen eds out of the way in high school. And then, so I applied to school mostly for like theater and mostly for acting. So when you are applying to art school, you have to apply to a lot of schools because a lot of those programs, what they're looking for in a given year can be like vary wildly. So I think I applied to like 13 or 14 schools. And honestly, at first UT wasn't even one that I was like really into, but one of the theater admissions counselors, her name is Natasha. She was so wonderful. She like personally helped me. There were a few issues with my application, like getting transcripts sent in. She reached out to me personally and she was like, hey, we'd really love to see these from you. We'd really love to see this application from you. And then she just like made sure that I got everything that I needed to. She made sure that I felt like I was being personally attended to, personally being taken care of. And there was a real like personal interest that ended up being why I decided to go to UT.
So mine was a little bit more traditional. I went to a small private school, and my counselor helped me a lot throughout the application process. I wrote my essays over the summer. I got my letters of recs from my teachers, and my counselor sent in the transcripts and everything, and I got in. So yeah.
It's really like interesting to hear how like there's no one path to getting into college in general or even to UT. So I think we can go ahead and start with Yocelyn, maybe just give a brief overview of UT Austin to those who are less familiar with UT Austin or just like want, a refresher about what the school is all about, and then we'll go into the Q&A.
Yeah, definitely. So I can go ahead and start talking a little bit about UT as a whole, as an institution. And essentially, one of the most enticing things about UT that I personally love is that we are a Tier 1 research institution. So we have state-of-the-art laboratories. We have 5 museums, 17 libraries with over 10 million volumes, and with award-winning faculty, authors, etc. We have a total of about 50,000 students, but that includes our graduate programs, law school, medical school, etc. Our undergraduate school would be a little bit over 40,000. So it's not a lie. We are on the larger side when it comes to institutions. We are a large institution, but we really do take a lot of pride in the communities that are built within the university, the friendships that you build, the organizations that you're a part of, and a lot more that is accomplished by the students throughout their 4 years here on campus. So on the topic of we are a Tier 1 research institution, the really cool thing I love about that is that, of course, we have the resources for students who are interested in the typical traditional way a lot of people picture to be white lab coat, microscope, test tubes, and all of that. But I personally was a liberal arts student, and I loved my majors. I would not change them for the world, and I was able to take part in amazing research opportunities that had nothing to do with science, because I'm not a math person. I am not a science person, but I am an essay person. So that is the really cool thing about that you, regardless of your major, regardless of your area of interest, if you're passionate about researching something, finding something out, there's something that you can do here at UT. And research in general is great to gain experience. It's great overall if you're interested in going to a graduate program, anything like that. So that is something that I really love about UT. We also, this is something that we talk about here and there, but I do like to make sure that it's known that it's not everything that we are, and that is our ranks. So we are the #1 public institution in Texas. We're number 14 in the nation and number 32 in the world. Now, when determining what institution to go to, ranks are not everything. But the reason why I do mention that is because they do speak to the high quality of education that you can be receiving here on campus. And that is attributed to the faculty and staff that are here with us, such as our Dr. John Goodenough, who's actually a professor here, who recently got awarded the Nobel Prize for his contribution in chemistry. And overall, I've personally had really awesome experiences with professors. I don't know if our current UT students can attest to that as well, but they're so accommodating. They're so accessible as well. And they really do speak to that as well. We are an institution, to its core. We're composed of 13 individual schools and colleges with over 100 areas of study. Now, I do want to mention that with areas of study, that includes, of course, majors, but it also includes minors and certificates, because we want to encourage that interdisciplinary experience with the university. I believe Kristen mentioned, Kristen, you are a double major, correct? Yeah, so exactly.
Psychology and English.
That's awesome. Yeah, so that's the reason I like to bring that up is because I genuinely do believe that students are complex human beings. So trying to box a student into one major when they might have different interests, it's not something that should happen. So if you're somebody who wants to double major in psychology and English, by all means, that is going to, if anything, enhance your experience at UT. If you're somebody who wants to get a major and a minor, a major and a certificate, to include a lot of those aspects of knowing the foundation of something that can set you up for the future, but also having the background of your major, it can only amplify your experience and your resume and your opportunities after your 4 years here on campus as well. So an example of that would be our certificate that we have called Business of Healthcare in the Medical Field. where students actually take classes in the Macomb School of Business. They take classes in College of Natural Science and Moody College of Communications. So you would be kind of bouncing around different colleges, gaining that experience. And I really do advocate for that for our students. We also do believe in experimental learning and having all the resources that you all need to be successful. So we have a 96% retention rate from freshman year to sophomore year, which really does speak to the resources that we offer our students. And with those resources, 75% of our students are involved in research, and 95% of our students, by the time they graduate college, are going to be involved in at least one internship. So internship, whether that may be on campus, off campus, anything like that, that can only, again, amplify your resume. If you are interested in applying to graduate school, applying for that job, it can also allow you to network. When you get to college, you'll realize how important networking is, which is something that I didn't know prior to going to college, but it's apparently very important. That's what I've learned. But moving on from that, I also do want to talk about the experiences that are gained outside of the classroom, because of course going to college is definitely about academics, but that's not everything. It's also about the experience that you're harboring outside of that. And that includes joining organizations, that includes extracurricular activities. At UT, we have over 1,300 different organizations for our students to choose from that include anything from student government organizations to intramural sports teams, to just fun organizations such as the Origami Club, which actually does exist. If any of y'all want to join it, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's just a lot of students who are passionate about origami. And again, you meet like-minded individuals and you create that community, because again, we are a large institution, so we really do want to zone in on those communities that are built. Another way that we kind of build communities is through our FIGs, which is the first year interest groups. Students, whenever you are coming into campus, you'll be placed in a FIG of about 10 to 15 students who are typically studying the same things that you are, sometimes a lot of them, you are also under the mentorship of an upperclassman who can help you transition from high school to college a lot more easily and more smoothly as well. I also want to mention for a lot of our students that I talk to a lot of students who are really passionate about music or band or dancing or theater as well, but they don't necessarily want to pursue that as a career. And they want to know how it is that they can keep that passion alive. And the answer to that is joining organizations. Again, we have a lot of organizations, and students do have the ability to try out for the Longhorn Band. We have dancing organizations, music, performing organizations, anything like that. We do encourage you to still continue on those hobbies. There's no reason why you should give those up when you're in college as well. And honestly, my last point that I like to kind of talk about when selling UT to our students is Austin. And I'm a little biased because I do live here, and I genuinely just love Austin. But I like to remind our students where it is that we really are. So consider the city of Austin as part of your extended campus. So Austin gives you the resources that you need to thrive in learning the things that you need to do for after you graduate. But being in Austin helps you really utilize those resources and seek out a lot more opportunities. We are home to a lot of Fortune 500 companies. We're home for Google, Dell. We also have offices for Apple. And on top of that, we also have the studios of Longhorn Network and a lot more opportunities for students. So we're a really cool example of that. Let's say you are studying, you want to be pre-law, you want to go to law school. Well, fun fact, we are actually located a couple blocks north of the Capitol. So you could potentially have an internship at the Capitol from like 9 to 12 p.m. in the afternoon, and then go to your class from 1 to 3 p.m. That is something that you can really gain by being in Austin, those opportunities from being here. And then lastly, I want to talk a little bit about the application itself. And I know that we're going to have a Q&A, so I'll dive into the application itself a little bit more, during the Q&A. But I want to talk about applicants themselves. So Each year, we are pleased to see a lot of talented students who apply to the university. And a lot of the times I get asked what makes the perfect applicant and what makes me stand out more. And the answer to that is that there's no such thing as a perfect applicant. We are a university looking for students who want to change the world and lead the way, whether in their communities or in their families, as the first in their family to go to college. So I encourage you all to seek out resources, we have on our website, we have live virtual tours, we have sessions, find out more information, contact us, because I genuinely do believe that UT is a place of opportunity where Longhorns and students can change the world. But yeah, that was a little bit my spiel about UT. Any questions? Are we moving? Did I speak too long? I don't know.
I was just going to say, I really appreciate the amount of detail that you were able to dive into. And now we'll begin the Q&A. So first, I've compiled a list of questions that are more general to the college application process, and then we'll go into more UT-specific questions. So the first question that we have, and feel free, any of the tag members or Yocelyn, to just jump in whenever you have a response. But the first question is, when can one start applying to colleges?
I can definitely answer that. And the answer depends. I know we really want to focus on the idea that there's multiple pathways to UT. So if you are a high school student right now, and you are wanting to seek freshman admissions, that process happens during your senior year. Essentially, applications open up in the summer of your senior year, or after your junior year, and during your senior year, the fall semester of your senior year, that is when you're submitting your applications. If you're a transfer student, it really does depend. Applications happen there's multiple days. So if you're a transfer student, you can apply in the summer, or you can also apply in the spring. But for our high school students, you start applying the summer right before you are a high school senior.
And then I'm going to move around just this one question because I feel like it's good to address in the beginning. How has COVID-19 affected the admissions process?
Yeah. So COVID-19, it's definitely something that we've never experienced before. With unprecedented times. And if anything, it has reminded us that we need to make ourselves as accessible as we can to our students. So the one major thing that it has affected us that I want to span across is for this admissions process for this year, we are no longer requiring SAT or ACT test scores. So those are completely up to the student if they are unable to go and take the test, or if they're able to, but they just don't feel safe, you do not have to submit it. I do want to point out that we have a holistic review approach when reviewing a student's application. So what that means is that we're looking at a student as a whole, and not one particular thing is ever going to stand out more or less that will determine a student's admissions into the university. So how does that affect the admissions process for our students? It just means that if you want to submit your test score and you've already taken it, you may do so, but know that your decision is not going to be dependent on it. And if you choose not to, that is totally okay. We are doing this to make ourselves as accessible as we can.
Thank you so much, Yocelyn. And then I guess I'll have some of the tag members just give some advice for writing admissions essays, what you wish you would have known when you were applying.
I've got a great answer for this because I took a completely different approach each time I applied. The first time I applied, and I think this is really important to remember, I wasn't kind of authentically me. I was trying to sound smarter. I was trying to be smarter. I was trying to be someone that they would like. And I think they ended up seeing that. And that's partially why I kind of failed at getting in, in addition to psychology being a huge major that so many people want to apply to. But the second time around, I talked about rough experiences. I talked about who I was generally as a person and how I could diversify the UT campus. And I think that's really important to remember when you're writing your essay. They want to see you. They want to know who you are and how you can change things and how you add to this world. So it's important when you're writing them not to try and be someone you're not. Try and be as authentic as possible.
I think what Karsen said about them wanting to see how you will add to the world is really like the approach that I took. And for not just my UT essays, but for all of my essays, I wrote a lot about how I think the world can be and how I see my role in that. So I wrote from like a very broad, like, this is what I can do, this is what I bring, this is how I see things, this is how I see the possibility that things can be, because what starts here changes the world.
I think something that really helped me in writing my essay was looking at other essays that were really good online. There's a lot you can find, and everyone has like a different story, so that was really important. And I wrote about like the struggles I had in my life, but I really focused on how I overcame that, and that's what's really important. Because if you write an essay just about your like tragedy, but not really like how it changed you in a positive way, or how you like found the strength to overcome this difficulty, that's really what they're looking for. It's like, what do you do when the hard time comes? And I think that was important.
Thank you. I'm actually a senior this year as well, so I'm kind of working through that, like the same kind of, challenge of like, that admissions process. And then as well as like me being a first generation college student, I'm kind of like having to, navigate that process. And then also with the college admissions essays, kind of like part of the challenge is like showing your authentic self without, coming off as like, superficial, because everyone has, something different to contribute. And I agree with everyone with how like you should focus on what you've contributed, and rather than trying to say something that you think that admissions counselors will want to hear. Another question we got is, are there any extracurricular activities that will make my application stand out?
Oh, Joanne, do you want to take that?
I guess. So what I did, like kind of like researching like, oh, what are colleges looking for? Colleges aren't looking for one particular thing, but they are very impressed if you have a dedication, like a lot, or passion that you really spend a lot of time with. So if you kind of join like a lot of different things that everyone else does, like all the honor societies that don't take that much time, it's probably not as impressive to do that as it would be if you spent combined all those hours into one thing you're really passionate about.
Yeah, and if I could actually just add on to that, just a little bit, you really, that was perfect actually, and you like read all of our minds. I also do want to point out that when reading your application and you tell us you were involved in like organization X and you did it for maybe 2 years and you did it for 5 hours a week, that's all that we know of you. That's all we know of you. We also have optional materials that you can submit, and one of them is the expanded resume, where you can expand on those organizations, those activities, and you can actually tell us the type of impact that you had within those organizations. So if I know that you did, like, let's say student council for 2 years, that to us, when we read it, it could go both ways. It could either be that you were really involved or you just showed up to the meeting, signed in, and signed out. Your expanded resume, that's where you can go in detail and be like, yes, I did not only just show up, but I was in charge of planning agendas, doing X, Y, and Z. So we read applications based on context, and the more context you provide us, the more we know of you, and the better we are at holistically reviewing you for the first choice major you are applying to.
I want to go back to what Joanne said for a second about how they like when you have like a clear dedication to something. In like my senior year, or the summer before my senior year leading up to applying, I would see all of these things that were like, this will look so good on your resume applying to college. And I even saw a TikTok about it recently. It was like 3 organizations to join if you want to get into an Ivy League school. And everyone that I've talked to, like from college admissions, has been like, okay, yeah, we want to see you have a dedication to something. And I personally, I wrote a lot of my short answers and some of my essays for other schools about like my volunteer experience and the perspective that's given me and the passion I have for it, and how I've seen that passion grow in myself, and how I've been able to share the passion I have with the people I'm volunteering for and with. So like you can tell when someone's lying, or not expanding upon the truth about how involved they were in something. Like, it comes through in those short answers.
We can go on to the last general question before we go to the UT specific. So how did you know who to ask for recommendation letters?
I was very lucky as far as recommendation letters, and I think this is really important to know and to learn. The best advice I've ever been given is the very first day you go into a classroom, at the end of the class, go up, shake the professor's hand, introduce yourself, try to form a relationship, go to office hours, try and understand them on an individual basis. Because if you're asking them to write a letter and you just sat in the very front row of their class, they're not going to know who you are. They're going to write something general and they're not going to do anything really meaningful. So the most important thing when asking for letters of recommendation, ask them from people who know you, who value you. They'll put more work into the essays themselves. More than that, try to build those relationships so they will want to write a letter for you. I mean, I was incredibly lucky. I had 6 or 7 different letters of recommendation from people who just honestly knew me and loved writing me a letter because they did believe in me and they did know how passionate I was. So that's the most important part. It's not quantity, it's quality.
Also, know that when you're asking someone for a letter of recommendation, you're asking them to take time out of their day to do something for you. So that's another reason why it's really, really important to have those connections. My dad's a professor at ACC, and he'll tell us sometimes that he'll get requests for rec letters from people who didn't come to class that often, who never talked to him. And he feels bad saying no, but he's also like, he doesn't know what to write for them. It's important to, like Karsen said, build those relationships, make it so they want to write those letters.
Another thing is, like, the earlier you ask them, the better, so they have more time to write it. So for me, I asked my teachers like May of junior year, so they would have the summer to write it and they could spend a lot of time on it. And I think that was really nice for them.
Okay, so now we'll move on to the UT specific questions. So the first question we have for that is, what are the requirements for students looking to apply to UT?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And the really cool thing about UT is that there really aren't any requirements. It's all part of the holistic review process and in the context that you provide in your application. So we don't heavily rely on your grades, and we don't just rely on your essays. We don't just rely on one thing, because that's just one thing out of the entirety that is you, the complexness that is you. So there really aren't any requirements. Now, little caveat, if you are applying to one of the 4 majors of engineering, economics, environmental sciences, or geoscience, there technically is one requirement, and that's that you have to be calculus ready. And all that means is that in order for you to go into those math heavy majors, we want you to know that you're able to handle the heavy math course. So to be calculus ready, you have to meet you have to meet one out of the different ways. So for example, let's say you did take the SAT and you scored a 620 on the math portion of your SAT, that means you're calculus ready. If you didn't take the SAT or SAT or ACT, then not to worry. We're going to send you additional tests that you are going to take online, of course, in order for you to be considered for those majors. But anything else, I promise you all, there's no requirements. And of course, if you are interested in, like, let's say theater and dance, you will probably have to do an additional application, audition, but those are just like specifically to that major. As a whole, in general, we're very holistic.
This is a quick question, but what is UT's acceptance rate?
Yeah, that is a great question. I want to say we are in somewhere in the 40%. I can tell you that last year, so this last year, for incoming students who started right now in the fall, we received about 57,000 applications. Out of all of those, we only offered admissions to 17,000 of them. So that was based on last year's like admission cycle. This year it might look a little different. We don't know how this pandemic will impact the number of people applying, the number of people not applying. But yeah, based on those, that's how we're doing.
So this question should be pretty fun, but what is the school culture like, and how would you characterize the students who come to UT? And this goes for Yocelyn and all the tag members that have gone to UT.
I was very surprised that I ended up loving it as much as I did and feeling so accepted there because, you know, I'm coming in from a different school. I'm a little bit older. I have a different life experience, but I got there and it was just so overwhelmingly positive. And even though it's like this huge campus and there are so many people there, you meet these people and you find these little programs and you find your group and you're connected to them. I mean, I have a group of friends I meet every week and we watch movies on Zoom right now. And the orgs are so cool because you're able to meet these students from all these different disciplines that you never would have met otherwise. I mean, one of my best friends is pre-med. I never, ever, ever would have met him had it not been for the orgs or the general classes and things like that. And the student life is just really awesome because it's very supportive. It's very welcoming and everybody just kind of wants to have a good time and support one another and get to the end without causing any harm. They want us to feel connected, which I think is really a beautiful thing.
Some of the best advice about like the UT culture that I got actually on my tour was the tour guide said it's really hard to make a small school feel big, but it's really easy to make a big school feel small. So like Karsen was saying, you find your group, you find your people. It can happen really fast. It can take a little longer, but you will find those people, even if it's like, you might find like one person or you might find like 50 people, but you will find someone, you will connect with people and you will feel accepted and you will feel loved and just there's a lot of support. Yeah.
So it's been a little different for me because I haven't been to UT like taking classes in person or anything. But orgs, I've still like been able to go to them because they have virtual meetings, which is really awesome. And one thing that really helped was my FIG that Yocelyn talked about earlier. So I have like a really big like bio and chem class and I like don't know any of them. But I take some of the same classes with the people in my FIG. And so I've managed to like form study groups, even though like I haven't met them in person before because they were in my FIG in a smaller community. So I could like meet people there and not just randomly ask someone from like 500 people, do you want to study? Because that group was already like there for me to socialize with.
So okay, if I'm like so moved by like y'all's experience, and if I'm able to be a little bit vulnerable, I think the best way that I can capture UT's culture is through a personal experience that happened to me in freshman year. Freshman year, I took my first. I took a test that I failed. I'll be completely honest. I failed it, and I was not used to failing in that way. So I went to the restroom and I cried. Very, very honest with y'all. And in the restroom, I actually met a girl who saw me crying and she took me out for coffee and she like talked to me. Needless to say, she's my best friend and we FaceTime every day. She lives in San Antonio, but right before this, I was actually FaceTiming her, and she's, you know, it really does speak to the culture of UT that she saw a random girl just like being so sad over a test, and she, you know, took the time out of her day to be like, are you okay, let's go for coffee. And I think that is how I would capture UT's culture, just very understanding and very nice overall. And I really do genuinely love UT for that.
That last story was really touching. I was like getting goosebumps. I was like, that is so sweet. I think we want to move on to like some of the unique programs that UT offers. And then I want to add just what are some of the unique majors and areas of study that UT has?
Yeah, definitely. So, like I did mention before, we do have 13 different colleges, and within each college, there's different majors that students are able to explore and learn about, and just either majoring, double majoring, anything like that. It really does depend on which ones you're interested in. I know that the School of Architecture has some amazing programs. I'm a bit advocate for the College of Liberal Arts because I'm really biased, but I'm also a great advocate for the Moody College of Communication. That is just an amazing college to go to for anything interdisciplinary. They have an entrepreneurship major where students can learn about a variety of different things about being a leader, about the business world without having to go into McCombs. And at the same time, Moody is just a great place to be in general. Moody houses what is known as the Archer program, and the Archer program is actually a program that sends students for a semester to Washington D.C. to either work under the internship of a U.S. senator, or a nonprofit organization, or just an organization over there, and you would be taking classes over there as well. Within that college, there's also UTLA or UTNY, where students, kind of like the Archer program, do a semester either in New York or LA, as well as taking classes there as well. And that's just Moody. And I love Moody. I love COLA, all of the different majors that you're able to choose from, all of the different organizations, anything like that.
So now I want to talk about kind of the transition from high school to college. What were some of the support systems that were in place for you when you all became freshmen?
So I transferred from college to college, which was a little bit more unique, just because you already know what the kind of experience is like. You know how you're going to be studying, you know how to study, things like that. And I honestly was so worried that there wasn't going to be a place for me. There wasn't going to be any kind of support. I was just kind of make it on my own. The end of the story, I was there for school. That's the end. There were so many people who offered a helping hand. My counselor, my psychology counselor and advisor was just so incredible, offering program after program that he thought I should take. And all of the people in my classes were amazing. And the professors, oh my goodness, the professors. Once they were so understanding, and they tried to create connections for me, which I thought was a beautiful, beautiful thing. Everybody was just so incredible as far as support goes, because they want you to succeed. They want you to belong. And I think that's really beautiful. I know I keep saying that, but I did not expect UT to be as supportive or as welcoming to somebody who has such an untraditional pathway like me. But they were, and they are.
I had a first year mentor who was incredibly helpful. She is wonderful. Like the first time we met, she was like, let me know if you ever want to get coffee. And then she was like, wait, you don't seem like a coffee person. Let me know when you want to go get tea. She was incredibly helpful. She helped me look for apartments last year, which now seems a little different, but and in addition to her was my FIG. FIG, speaking like generally, because the thing about College of Fine Arts is the majors are really tiny. So my FIG was my entire major. I think there were 15 of us at the beginning of last year. There were 15 people, 15 freshmen in my major. So I got to interact with them in every single class I was in, except for some of my gen eds. I got to see them all the time. We all became super close. And even if we weren't super close friends, we always knew that we could go to each other for support, for comfort, for anything that we needed.
My classes have so many office hours I can go to. So whenever I have a question, there are a bunch of TAs that are so nice and helpful that will answer, and they never make fun of you or anything. They're always so understanding, even if it's a dumb question. And so those have really helped, especially in studying for quizzes and tests.
I just wanted to second that about the TAs. My first year, I took my UGS class, and my TA and I became like friends. I miss her so much. She was so wonderful. She was so supportive. She was just so helpful, and she made me, well, hold on. She made me feel like super safe and open to like sharing my thoughts and my opinions, and that's something I've taken through all the rest of my classes here.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yes to the TAs. I mean, my first TA in my American literature class was the person who inspired me to double major and convinced me I could do it. And she was just so incredible. And she was always there, even though I'm like hyper excited about everything. She was always very understanding and always willing to give me her time. And she was amazing.
So a different topic, what scholarships does UT offer? And then what does applying for financial aid look like at UT?
Yeah, that's a good question. So UT offers what are known as like merit-based scholarships or financial need-based scholarships. So a student does not have to fill out a separate application form to be considered to those scholarships. Their application into the university is their application for those scholarships that we personally have to offer, such as ULN, which is the University Leadership Network, the Presidential Scholars, Experiential Scholars, anything like that. So those are scholarships that we award through your through your application. On top of that, we also have a lot of programs that are based for our students to make ourselves more accessible. So one of them is called the Texas Advanced Commitment. And that actually started this year, this fall, actually. And it didn't start, it was just amplified a lot more. And what the Texas Advanced Commitment is that it's a program for students who are Texas residents who are coming to the university and whose family make a net income of $65,000 or less. They will not have to pay tuition. Tuition will be covered. And if their parents make less than $165,000, but more than $65,000, they will receive some type of support, not the entirety of it all, but they are guaranteed to receive something. All a student has to do is, of course, be a Texas resident, apply for financial aid, and I'll get to the financial aid application in just one second. And to keep on receiving this commitment for all 4 years of college, a student has to maintain above a 2.0 GPA, which honestly, anything less than a 2.0, I believe is academic probation, right? Correct? I believe so. So yeah, so y'all have to do that either way. But that is one thing that we're doing. And then on top of that, we also have something called UT for Me. So it's a Dell Scholars Program for our students who are Pell Grant eligible. So grants are a type of money that the government awards you when you fill out your financial aid application. And if you qualify for the Pell Grant, you may also qualify for this UT for Me Dell program. And what this means is that you'll get a scholarship, like I believe it's about $5,000 a semester that they break off into like payments. So each month you'll get a payment of those scholarship money. But on top of that, you also get a lot of services. You may qualify for a laptop, a Dell laptop that is for you, that is yours. You do not have to give back. That is yours. You also have a lot of resources available for you through that, such as financial literacy classes. And there's one example when I went through the training of this, they told us, like, imagine you're a student and you drive a car and your tire, you got a flat tire. Through the UT for Me program, you can call somebody to change the tire, and they'll do that. So those are the type of programs that are offered through that UT for Me. Now, onto the actual financial aid program. So you want to apply for financial aid. So that is FAFSA, the Free Application for Federal Student Aid, and you apply to that when it opens up in October. Now, the way that FAFSA works is that it is an application to see if you qualify for any federal aid, such as grants, which is money you don't have to get back, any loans through the government. The way that it also kind of works is a first come, first serve type of mentality. So the sooner you apply to it, the better your chances are at being eligible to receive that aid. So think about it this way. Let's say you apply to UT, you get admitted, and you decide you want to apply in May. but the application has been opened since October of last year. At that point in May, a lot of funds have already been distributed to students. So even though you are still eligible to apply, you're only going to be eligible for what is left of what they have for you. And that may be a lot, that may not be a lot. So the sooner you do it, the better, definitely. And of course, TASFA as well. If you want, it's the equivalent to FAFSA, but on a state level. So TASFA is the Texas application for financial aid, and that is for students who want to qualify who do not qualify to apply for FAFSA. So that is also an option. You do have to apply to either one of those to qualify for the Texas Advanced Commitment and the UT for Me scholarship. But yeah, those are some of the options that we have available. And I also do want to point out that once you're at UT, you can also apply to a lot of departmental scholarships. So there's like specific psychology scholarships, or specific like neuroscience scholarships, or specific like COFA scholarships. And those are specific to the department that you may be more able to find once you're a UT student.
So since we're nearing the end, I want to ask a kind of fun question. What is your favorite UT tradition?
Surprisingly, kind of the football games. And that's surprising only because I don't like football, like at all. I don't go to the games. I don't really like it at all. But I love the energy it kind of brings, and I love how everybody kind of connects. And we always play Oklahoma every year. It's like this huge game, and everybody freaks out over it. And there's like this hyper loyal mentality to our school. We're like, we're so much better than Oklahoma. And it's honestly kind of hilarious, and I love how passionate everybody gets about it. Even if they don't like football, they're still passionate about it. And it's very, very, very interesting and fun and just hilarious. And plus the tailgates are really cool. So
I can also go. So one of my favorite traditions for UT would probably be the commencement ceremony tied along with Gone to Texas. And I know that I know this year, I don't believe did we have a virtual Gone to Texas?
There was a virtual one, and some people were on campus to like see the tower light up, but yeah.
I am so sorry, but no, it's did you get a free t-shirt at least? Because that's why it was my favorite memory, because of the free t-shirts. Like, that is what I lived for.
I think I did get a free t-shirt though.
There you go. So honestly, my favorite UT tradition is just like the free t-shirts that you get out of the events, and those are so fun.
I really liked Gone to Texas too. I really liked getting to see, I'm graduating in 23. I really liked getting to see the giant 23 lit up in the lights at the tower. That was a lot of fun. I wish it could be happening this year, but safety is more important than pretty lights.
Awesome. So this will be our last question. And it is, what events do you recommend prospective students attend if they're interested in learning more about what UT has to offer, and if UT is a good match for them?
The most important things that I did personally, I kind of just honestly went to campus. I wasn't invited or anything. I didn't necessarily have anybody who was guiding me, but I kind of wanted to feel what it was like to be a student on campus. And it helps that I'm only like 30 minutes away. So I figured one afternoon I'd just kind of go up there and see what it was like. And it was very interesting and very surreal to kind of be on campus and to walk the same path as everybody else and to see how beautiful everything looks in like the yellow brick road and everything. And it's very magical to kind of be there. So if you can actually go and kind of experience, I mean, not right now, of course, but experience what it feels like to be on campus, it's very incredible.
Yeah, what really pushed me over the edge of choosing UT was going on a tour and just getting to see what the campus has to offer. I had been several times because I'm from Austin. I had gone to like a basketball game a year before. I used to go every year to introduce a girl to engineering day. But getting to see it with like the eyes of I could go here, thinking about what I could do here, who I could meet here. That really like changed my perspective. And I think, Yocelyn, you said that there are live virtual tours now. So going on one of those live virtual tours, it's not the same, but you'll get to see what the campus has to offer. And yeah, it was very special for me choosing to come here.
Yeah, live virtual tours are available for our students through our website, and like Eleanor said, it's not going to be exactly the same, but you are going to get that experience, and you will also get to talk to a lot of tour guides. I have heard from a lot of students that their interaction with the tour guides are actually something that really inspired them to apply and see if they would be a good fit for UT, or if UT would be a good fit for them. So yeah, it's an awesome experience. You can sign up online, and it's something that, it'll expose you to it, and I highly do recommend it.
I think this kind of wraps up the event. I really appreciate how insightful this event was, and I hope that whenever everyone gets to see this, they get something from it. And I really appreciate Yocelyn for being here from UT Admissions, as well as the TAG members, and then also Amanda, thank you so much. Amanda's our Youth Services Librarian at the Pflugerville Public Library. She's been behind the scenes, so thank you so much for working that part out. And I think this marks the end of the panel.